Welcome, everyone. This is Mary Duskwood, Director of Operations and Research here at Burtch Works. Today, two of our senior executive recruiters, Kit Nordmark and Matt Kleffner, will share the results of our 2021 Marketing Research and Consumer Insights Salaries Study. For those of you who aren't familiar with Burtch Works, we're an executive recruiting firm specializing in fields like marketing research, data science, analytics, and data engineering. Burtch Works market insights have been repeatedly mentioned in the press, including The Economist, The New York Times, The Wall Street Journal, CNBC, and the Chicago Tribune, among many others. Burtch Works has also been recognized by Forbes as one of America's best recruiting firms for several years, including 2021. And now a quick introduction of our speakers. Kit Nordmark worked in the marketing research industry with a focus in qualitative research, most recently at Kantar, formerly known as the Futures Company. Prior to that, she was a research director at True, a boutique insights firm specializing in the youth demographic. She now leads Burtch Works Research and Insights recruiting team. Matt Kleffner spent over 13 years in the market research industry and has extensive account management experience in healthcare and public sector research. He provided hands-on client service to one of the largest healthcare insurance providers and helped manage their national brand tracking study. Now, before we get into the data, I wanted to quickly mention a few things about our reports. We have been putting together salary reports for our main specialty areas for 9 years. Over that time, we've heard from countless clients, hiring managers, and professionals that they use our reports to set compensation for their teams or to negotiate their own compensation packages. Kit and Matt will share the highlights today, but be sure to download the full report to get more details. We collect our data through interviews instead of an online survey. So a big thank you for trusting Burtch Works and sharing with us so that we can share these reports with the community for free. Many of you have likely seen our survey results and maybe even participated, so a big thank you for that as well. This year's Research and Insight Salary Report has over 400 researchers in the sample. The full report has over 30 pages of compensation, demographic data, hiring market analysis, qualitative trends, and more. So make sure to download the full report at burtchworks.com/study for more insights. And now, Kit and Matt, I'll turn things over to you.
Thanks, Mary. Hi, everyone. This is Kit starting us off today. We know this time of year is super busy for everyone, so we're so glad that you can join us. I'm sure many of you already know Burtch Works, but for anyone joining us for the first time, we're a specialized recruiting firm and have a team specifically dedicated to the research and insights field. We work with researchers looking for new opportunities, and we also partner with companies across the U.S. to help them find great talent for their teams. As Mary mentioned, Matt and I were both hands-on researchers before joining the Burtch Works team, so we bring a unique perspective having worked in the field ourselves, and because we talk to researchers on a daily basis, we're also able to keep a pulse on the industry as a whole and the trends we observe along the way. So we hope to serve as a broader resource for professionals in the field. So here's a quick look at what we'll be covering today. We'll define the researcher profile, cover demographics and how we segment the sample to examine salaries. We'll walk through 2021 salary info for both client and supplier side researchers. We'll share some of the industry trends we've been tracking, and we'll save a few minutes for Q&A at the end. So before we take you through the data, we think it's important to outline exactly who we're talking about when we say marketing researchers. And you may also refer to us, or hear us refer to them as insights professionals throughout the presentation. It's a fairly synonymous term in the industry. First, marketing researchers work in a number of different areas. They can work on quantitative or qualitative research, or oftentimes a blend of the two. It can be primary or custom research, or secondary or syndicated research. It includes professionals within consumer or shopper insights, voice of the customer, category management, media and audience research, and competitive or market intelligence. At Burtch Works, we differentiate marketing researchers from analytics professionals and data scientists. Those folks typically work hands-on with tools such as Python, R, and SAS, and most will have masters or PhDs in areas like computer science, statistics, or mathematics. We don't include data engineering or web analytics professionals, And we also keep marketing and brand managers separate, since as a rule, they use research but are further removed from how those insights are curated. We have colleagues here at Burtch Works who cover analytics, data science, and data engineering recruiting, but we separate them from marketing research and insights folks to keep our studies as accurate as possible. All right, now that you have a better idea of the types of professionals we're covering, let's dig into the data.
All right, thanks, Kit, and hi, everybody. For first steps here, let's just jump into the demographics of our sample and take a look at the typical profile of a research professional. This year, 47% of our sample had 10 years of professional experience or less, and the median was 12.9 years. As for education, everyone held a college degree in this year's sample, and just over 60% held an advanced degree, which includes a traditional master's degree, an MBA, or a PhD. Kind of as a side note here also too, we're often asked which type of advanced degrees is best route for a researcher. While we have an advanced degree can sometimes play a role in your job search, we usually suggest that the advanced degree, choosing one is based on the type of marketing research role you're looking for. Whether it be kind of sociology, marketing, economics, psychology, or even market research itself, there is no one-size-fits-all answer here. So we usually kind of advise professionals that are pursuing this advanced degree to choose a focus based on their own career goals and the resources. Regarding gender breakouts, in this year's data set, our sample was 58% women and men made up 42%. In contrast to fields like data science or data engineering, women usually only make up about a quarter or less of those samples, so marketing researchers definitely lean more female. As we look at the data each year also, we go through and assign each professional as either a supplier or a client-side researcher based on their current position. Just for a quick rundown, supplier research firms or agencies are typically commissioned by other companies to lead research projects on behalf of other organizations. Examples can be, as listed here, GfK, Kantar, Ipsos, or even IRI. They also range from small boutique consultancies to large global organizations as well. And then on the client side of things, researchers sit in-house at companies, again, listed here, kind of like Facebook, Conagra, J&J, or even McDonald's, and work on teams dedicated to research or insights within that broader organization. Teams can vary from lean groups, from like 1 to 5 researchers, or even up to maybe 50 or 100 people on each team. Once we separate the data, supplier and client-side researchers, we then break them down into several different sublevels. Here in blue, we break apart the supplier-side researchers by primarily the year of experience. Titles kind of usually never match up from one agency to the next, so we feel that years of experience is our best guide here. And some of those titles we provide here as examples, just to kind of give you an idea too. On the right in green are the client-side categories, and here we segment by title, experience level, and often if someone manages others or manages a full team. There are 5 segments ranging from analyst to senior analyst with just a few years of experience, and then all the way up to senior directors and VPs on the senior end. That's kind of just a quick cheat sheet of how we break down and categorize research professionals, and also, giving you an example of this year's sample demographics. I'm going to hand it back to Kit, though, so she can match up all these job categories with our salary data.
Thanks, Matt. Now let's get into what everyone is most interested in for this particular webinar, this year's salary information. Here is a chart showing the median base salaries at all of the job levels we analyzed. You'll see the client-side data, again, in green, and the supplier-side salaries shown in blue. In the green at the top, level 1 client-side professionals, which equates to analysts or senior analysts, earn a base of $85,000 annually. Those at level 3, who are around that senior manager level, are at $145,000 a year. And at level 5, the executive level on the client side, the median base salary is $215,000. Now taking a look at the bottom part of the chart in blue, early career marketing researchers on the supplier side earn a median salary of $70,000 per year. and move up to just over 96,000 for those with 5 to 9 years of experience under their belts. And at S4, which covers the most senior supplier-side researchers, they earn a median base salary of 180,000. Now we'll take a look at how these median salaries compare to last year's. First, on the supplier side, you'll see 2021 salaries in the darker blue bars, and just underneath that in light blue, you'll see last year's range. Compared to our 2020 report, supplier-side researchers at levels 1, 3, and 4 showed no change from last year. Level 2 researchers on the supplier side received a 5% increase. And here's a sneak peek at the client-side comparison. With 2021 median salaries in the dark green and last year's figures in light green bars below, for client-side researchers, we saw no change at levels 1, 2, and 3. On the senior end, we did see slight decreases at levels 4 and 5, but only down 2 and 1% respectively, so it's quite nominal. After some researchers experienced furloughs and we even saw some salary cutbacks back in the height of the pandemic in 2020, we're really pleased to announce that salaries in 2021 held strong overall. So here's a quick recap. Base salaries held steady for most researchers and insights professionals, and the levels that did have fluctuations were small. It's an educated group with nearly 39% holding a bachelor's degree, 29 are MBA researchers, and over a quarter have a master's degree. 47% have 10 years or less experience, and 58% of the sample are female. So that's a look at what we just covered for this year's salary info, and of course, there's much more info in our full report available for download after the webinar.
Great, thanks, Kit. And also, as we mentioned earlier here at Burtch Works, we do keep an eye on trends beyond just salaries. So here's a look at some of the themes that we've been tracking this year as well. For this first one, we know that 2020 has definitely been a rough year for many businesses, and we saw widespread hiring freezes, even furloughs and layoffs of research insights teams in response to the pandemic. In 2021, however, we have been tracking a much different landscape. And while the pandemic isn't in a rearview mirror yet, we have seen an impressive bounce back this year that has surpassed our expectations. We field a flash survey every year to try to gauge hiring plans, which we field in both Q1 and Q2, and then again in Q3 and Q4. And in both surveys for 2021, we found 60% of the teams are planning to hire researchers. And just from the ground level, Kit and I can also speak to an increase in activity and firsthand have seen that a huge influx in opportunities for researchers. With businesses picking up across industries and budgets rebounding from last year, insights initiatives are especially critical for many organizations as they really try to understand their consumers in this ever-changing market. Whether it's replacing headcount lost in 2020, bringing on new team members to keep up with the expanding workload, or even looking to backfill after increased attrition, this year's spike in hiring across industries and geographies is especially seeing a high demand for researchers. If we take a look at just the job postings, there are a ton of openings on the client side across categories, and it seems like these days also that almost all research suppliers and consultancies are looking to bring on skilled professionals, with even some hiring across numerous experience levels. So particularly researchers on that supplier side are in high demand as firms respond to this increase of business and an influx of new projects.
That's so true, Matt. We've seen strong research and insights hiring all year long. So, and along with that, and a wealth of opportunity for researchers, there has been an unprecedented movement in 2021. We've all seen the headlines in the news around the Great Resignation or the Great Reshuffle, and we've seen that on our end as well. So researchers often pause their job searches back in 2020. They're open to new opportunities this year, and just as the industry saw a big boost in hiring. So it's been this perfect storm, and all of this increased activity has created an extremely active and highly competitive job market. If you're a researcher open to a new role, overall, it's a pretty good time to be looking. There seem to be a ton of opportunities out there and job postings are healthy. It's also easy to get overwhelmed by options these days. So make sure you're serious about a potential move before putting yourself out there. We also know it can feel like a full-time job when you're looking for one. So you want to make sure you're kind of in the right headspace to tackle a job search. Also keep track of applications and where you send your resume along the way so you can stay organized and follow up with companies as needed, and be prepared for numerous interviews and steps throughout the process. If you're a hiring manager or on the talent acquisition team looking to hire researchers in this climate, know that the current hiring market is super tricky. Understand that it may take longer to hire researchers today than in the past. Ensure the interview process is efficient and streamlined, especially since candidates are likely juggling other interviews as well. And if you find someone who's a great fit, be ready to move quickly for a strong candidate. And last, don't forget, they'll be interviewing you too. So make sure to sell the job, the team, or the broader organization, or things like growth potential. Since it's such an active job market and candidates are likely exploring a number of other opportunities too, you want to make sure that you're selling, the one that you're trying to fill as well, and hopefully stand out from the crowd. And another trend we've been monitoring is the work from home policies, and we've been keeping an eye on companies who plan to go back into the office and others who may embrace remote working long term. This has been one of the hottest topics of the year, and organizations seem to fall all across the board in terms of their approach. On one side of the coin, some are leaning into the trend towards a virtual workforce and have downsized office space or even closed offices entirely. We've noticed that research suppliers and consultancies seem to have the most flexibility these days. Because supplier-side researchers generally partner with a mix of clients who may be based across the country or even global clients, their physical location may be less critical on the day-to-day. So we're seeing more teams bring on remote researchers or even move to a more permanent remote-first model on the supplier side. And then on the other side of things, some companies are hoping to return to more of an in-person environment and atmosphere. Especially for researchers on the client side, many employers seem to be most comfortable with a hybrid model to have people in the office at least a few days a week. While we've seen an increase in flexible arrangements overall, because in-house researchers tend to partner across a variety of business units, whether it's marketing teams or R&D or the C-suite, ensuring some opportunity for face time to meet with key stakeholders or present to cross-functional teams is often a key part of the job.
Along with the rise of the virtual workplace, we have also seen virtual interviews become pretty commonplace. They offer nice flexibility for scheduling and also the ability to move quickly in today's competitive market. Given the shift towards these virtual interviews, like Kit said, be prepared for a number of conversations and steps throughout the process. We've seen an increase in potential assessments, assignments, and even providing work samples to help vet these candidates' skill sets and research capabilities. It is kind of interesting, though, because Kit and I have seen a couple instances recently of on-site interview requests over the past month, or even companies giving that option for candidates who are local to come in and meet the rest of the team. So, it is something that will be interesting to really monitor this virtual interview trend in the next upcoming years.
Yeah, it was actually funny getting an in-person request to have someone interview. I feel, we almost reverted back to sending, directions to get to the office and that kind of thing. We were so used to doing everything on Zoom and Teams and virtual. Almost feels like a blast from the past, but we'll see what the next year has to show. And that was a look at some of the trends we've been watching in 2021. Now I wanted to show some of our predictions for what's next for the insights and research field in 2022. With the strong rebounding market we've seen so far, we're optimistic moving into the next year, and we're excited to continue to track hiring trends in 2022. We're still feeling the effects of market interruption in 2020, and with so many teams still looking to hire now, we don't see things slowing down anytime soon. Even Q4, I feel like sometimes this time of year gets a little bit quiet, not this time. So we really get the sense that we'll be navigating a challenging and uber competitive hiring market for some time. And as I just mentioned, some companies plan to strive for in-person or hybrid work setups for their teams moving forward, especially client-side organizations. But businesses with flexibility and openness to bring staff on remotely will likely be able to cast a wider net for hiring and perhaps ease their efforts a bit. And if remote opportunities continue into the year ahead, it could in turn also bolster options for geographically tied researchers who can't make a move, especially those on the supplier side. We kind of, assume there'll be more trends in that direction as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and work from home policies into 2022 for sure.
And a key theme we've covered a few times today is the increased competition for both researchers and the employers hiring them. With the abundance of job search activity going on, we've seen strong offers hit the table and employers fight for that talent in this active market. And we really do anticipate, to see the impact of this in next year's salary data. It'll be kind of interesting to see, of course, and Kit and I will be here to track everything along the way for you guys.
We sure will.
And that's our main presentation for right now. And now I'm going to hand it back to Mary for a quick few announcements before we get to the Q&A portion. So make sure to get those questions in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt and Kit. That is some great information. And as Matt said, we will be having the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them our way and we'll get to as many as we can. They covered a lot of information today, but if you're interested in taking a closer look or want even a little bit more, you can download our full report. It's over 30 pages and breaks down salaries by quartiles, looks at salary means as well as medians, examines additional demographic insights, qualitative insights, and market trends. Again, it's free and you can download it at burtchworks.com/study. Of course, if you're looking to add to your market research or consumer insight staff, we'd be happy to speak with you and do some brainstorming about what you might have planned in terms of hiring to start off the new year. We offer contingency and retained services from research analysts all the way up to chief research officer. Feel free to send us an email if you'd like to chat. That's info@burtchworks.com. And throughout the year, be sure to check out burtchworks.com/blog, where our recruiters post hiring market insights and other information specifically related to marketing research and consumer insights, including career tips and other trends throughout the year. You can also follow Burtch Works across our social media channels to stay up to date on our latest research and find our previous videos, including our 2021 Research and Insights Careers Q&A at youtube.com/BurtchWorks. And now it's time for everyone's been looking forward to. It's the Q&A, so let's jump in. Feel free to continue sending your questions in for Kit and Matt, and we'll get to as many as we can today. Let's start it off with a question about demand for consumer insights. Is demand growing, and what are the new skills companies are looking for right now?
Yeah, I can take this one. I think it is growing. We've seen an increase in demand for insights and research. I think especially coming off the pandemic, and I know we're still kind of in it, but just given all the changes in life around us, I feel like consumer sentiment across categories has shifted a ton. People are spending more time at home or hoping to get back out there again. I feel like there's just been so much change in the consumer mindset. I feel like a lot of businesses are really working to make sure that they're on top of that. And also just from the conversations that we have, it sounds like both research suppliers and client-side researchers seem to be really busy. It sounds like they're just getting pulled into more and more, meetings with stakeholders and designing research around that. And then on the supplier side especially, we've just seen a huge boom. I feel like everyone's stretched pretty thin, they're winning lots of work and almost like a full rebound from some of the laps that we saw in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, our second question is about that kind of around the work from home trend. Are there any trends you're seeing about employers recruiting outside of their normal geographic area now that work from home is a bit more common?
Yeah, I guess I can jump in here really quick just to kind of kick this one off. But, I think using the word normal, I don't know if I'd say that, but we've definitely, seen a trend happening, and especially on the supplier side of things. And I think we've actually talked about this a little bit during our presentation, but, really in order to attract that top talent, many research suppliers are leveraging kind of this 100% work from home environment as a perk. On the client side of things, though, it has gone a little bit more hybrid, so not really 100% remote, because those teams usually need to work a little bit more cross-functionally and meet face-to-face from time to time, which, of course, since it is hybrid, that means you have to be local to a city, so it wouldn't, again, allow that 100%, or local to the company, I should say, not the city, but it doesn't really allow that 100% remote capability.
And I guess adding on to that, I feel like, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kit.
I also think there can be we've seen some trends just in, certain categories that I know Matt mentioned supplier side seems to be more likely to embrace like a fully remote model. We're also seeing some categories that tend to maybe trend that direction. And I feel like tech is one of them. Especially, I don't know, with some of the Silicon Valley tech folks or on the West Coast, sometimes they just need to cast a wider net and potentially increase bandwidth. And so there seem to be some categories. So we're kind of tracking that as well. And I feel like, 2022, a lot of times companies were planning to return to the office, but with some of the new changes and variants and stuff, I feel like some of that may be delayed as well. So this is still a very active topic that we're keeping track of.
Yeah, I feel like we've been talking about it a lot, and that just keeps updating and evolving. Yeah, our next question is about job titles. Are you seeing any new trends in the research space for job titles, specifically on the client side? But if you're seeing anything supplier side, please let us know that too.
Interesting. Okay, so client side, that's a good question. And, titles vary so much across industries. I feel like it's like all across the board there too. Some companies just happen to have maybe bigger teams or more hierarchy and levels within their group. Others are more flat and maybe only have a couple levels within their insights team. So it really ranges. I think one trend that we've noticed the last few years is probably just an increase in some of the junior levels on the client side in particular. I think a few years ago, it was fairly common for client-side research teams to almost start at the manager level and kind of go up from senior manager, director, and potentially VP from there. I think right now, as we're seeing more of these junior titles and positions pop up, whether it's analyst, senior analyst, maybe even associate manager. So it's really nice. I feel like there's actual, opportunity for more junior researchers to make that transition to the client side. And I think as, some of the hiring increase in 2021 in particular, we're seeing a lot of it at that more junior end at this point. So it's kind of interesting to see how things shift a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking about our years of experience demographic data in relation to that, and I'll be interested to see how it compares when we run next year's study. All right, so is it really difficult to hire right now? What's the demand versus supply at the moment?
I feel like high level, yes, it's super difficult to hire right now. Well, actually, Linda Burtch, who founded Burtch Works here, she's been recruiting for over 35 years, and she just said she's never seen anything like this market that we're dealing with right now. So, we're especially seeing that on the research and insights too. I think there just seem to be more openings than researchers looking for new roles right now. And that just is kind of what it seems, as 2021 moved on, there just seemed to be more and more opportunities out there. Another thing that's making hiring especially difficult is a lot of people already made a shift. So there are a ton of people that took new jobs, over the summer or early fall, or, maybe just made a move recently, and then they're off the market. So, I think sometimes people were looking and now they're off. So right now it does feel like there's more demand than supply, although, I feel like there's a lot of really bright researchers out there. It's just kind of finding strong ones for the team. But it's a tricky hiring market. I know it's a tough climate out there for both client and supplier side teams looking to hire.
Yeah, actually, I was just talking to Linda Burtch yesterday, and she was mentioning that her biggest advice right now is to kind of keep your recruiting almost constant, even if you aren't sure when you're going to need somebody, just because it might take so long to get a person on board. Just always be ready to have that process get started. All right, so I think we're going to do one last question here. I know we're just a little past the half-hour mark, but we're going to do one more. Do you see this difficult to hire, talent landscape? Do you see this continuing into 2022 or even beyond?
I mean, I think yeah,
so.
from our
go ahead, Ben.
yeah. Sorry. No, I was just going to say from our perspective, yeah, we just really haven't seen a slowdown, and the demand keeps on increasing. And just to tag on to what Kit just said in the previous statement, that there is just not that supply there of researchers right now. Hopefully that will open up early next year, but it's kind of one of those. It remains to be seen at this point.
Well, I think it seems like research suppliers are also seeing an influx of work coming in. So I think with that, they're looking to grow their teams and that kind of thing. And as client-side teams may be looking to hire too, they might be outsourcing even more projects than normal right now. So I feel like that continued kind of leaning on partners on the supplier side and consultancy side will make continue to keep demand up for those folks. So. Yeah, we think it'll continue to be kind of a difficult hiring market, but again, like Linda made a great point, that piece of always kind of keeping the recruiting train and pipeline full could be a really nice way. And then we're also seeing a little bit of an increase potentially of companies looking to bring people on either contract or temporary project-based workers to help kind of stretch bandwidth. So that's another trend we'll be kind of watching in the year ahead.
And of course, I can't leave this alone without putting in a little plug for Burtch Works. Obviously, if you need some help with that recruiting process, we're here and available. We can help you out with direct placement, contract staffing, whatever you need to get the right researchers on your team. So that's all the questions for today. We appreciate everyone who submitted, and thank you all for joining us. If you would like to download the study, you can visit burtchworks.com/study and get the full report. If you'd like to connect further with us, you can email us at info@burtchworks.com. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for joining us today.